came across a drifting ship. I took a look inside. I found a note that someone wrote that said, take her for a ride. I set a course for sights unseen, went out to open sea. To my surprise, a bunch of sailors joined along with me. Now we're sailing on the mystery ship, and all the sailors here are really hip. There isn't any cost of membership. All you gotta do is join our trip. Yeah, I'm the captain of the mystery ship, and I'm a-calling all aboard this ship. I'm really hoping that you'll enjoy it up on the mystery ship. So bring a friend and come along with us aboard the mystery ship.
Well, we are off to one hell of a start tonight on the mystery ship. Let me tell you, people, we are off to one hell of a start. Yes, yes, we are. Holy crap. Holy crap. Welcome, my friends. Welcome, welcome, welcome to the mystery ship. This is edition number 485. My name is Zoso Dude, and I welcome you this May the 3rd, year of our Lord 2024, in which the mystery ship takes a look at the Playboy Club. Yes, tonight, your brother Zoe is going to take a look back at the Playboy Club and what made it such a piece of Americana. What was it about the Playboy Club that had that draw? And what happened to it? We're going to be looking into all of those things. I welcome you this evening. I welcome you this fine, fine evening. Great to have you aboard. It was an absolutely gorgeous day here in Oregon, and it has turned into a rainy blob of a mess out there. That only means one thing. That means tomorrow, my radio show is going to be a hit because there won't be anything else for me to do. I don't want to go out and play in the rain again. I've had about enough of that for a lifetime. Let's take a look around the horn, make sure the Harley cams are working. Yes, yes, they are. Very good, very good. Back to the main cam. Let's look and see that we are up everywhere we're supposed to be. We are live at Rumble. That is a beautiful thing. Great to see that. It appears that we are live at YouTube. Yes, we are. We are live over there. Fabulous. Fabu. How about at Twitch? Are we live at Twitch? We are definitely live at Twitch. That is wonderful. Perfect. What about D Live? Yes, D Live. Great to see my friends over at D Live. Apparently, we are live there. What about the home of free speech in America? Yes, it doesn't matter if you have a show about, oh, anything. You could be a conservative newscaster or you could be a pedophile, and Foxhole will guarantee you a platform to stand on. Yep, that's the way they roll over there. Free speech guaranteed. Let's see who is hanging out over at the home of the champions. Oh, these are the champions. These are the champions. Good to see them all. Girl Patriot, how are you doing? Joe Elaine in the house. Carrie Lake is still with us. Good to see you, little lady. Cynthia in the house, all the way from Boston. Getting late out there. Good to see you. Great to have you aboard. Crazy Chuck with a K in the house. Yes, indeed. Bonghit is with us. Good to see you. Prayer Warrior Girl, PWG, how are you doing? You always make me smile when I look up and see your smiling face. It was a pleasant surprise to look up and see Carrie Lake tonight. That is great. Great to see you, my friend. I'll be running out your way. I'm headed to Florida. Yes, I am. I mentioned Bong Hit, did I not? I hope I did. I most certainly hope I did. Great to see all these faces. Willie Fixit in the house. Oh my goodness, we've got some of the best people I know hanging out over at Pilled Foxhole. The Owl Flash in the house. Zoomer. Zoom. Great to see you. Great to see you. Let's take a quick peek at Rumble. Well, there's two people over there, whoever the two of you are. A Zoso salute to you. Thank you for being there. I appreciate you more than you'll ever know. One day, when there are hundreds of people hanging out there, I will look back to you two people and say, I remember when those two lurkers were there. Good to have you aboard. Let's take a peek at YouTube. No one has said hello yet, but it says that there's 3 people watching, and I believe them. So you 3 people at YouTube, I freaking love you. Thanks for being there. Thanks for hanging out. Let's go over to D Live, where we have such a sassy group. This is one of the best groups of sailors out there. I love it. Sleeping Stars is with us tonight. Bad Zoot in the house. Val Kimber is with us. Cosmic Grandpa. Good to see you, my friend. Black Cat is here. Good to see you, little lady. Tiger 101, how you doing? Zanimal, all the way from Zambia. Actually, I think she's in Florida. But it's great to see you. Great to have you aboard. Thanks for being here. Val Kimber, indeed. Willie Fixit is with us. Man, what a fine. Spudley is in the gallery. We have got a bunch of the finest sailors around here tonight. All of them here tonight. Good to see each and every one of you. Thanks for coming aboard the mystery ship. It is always a pleasure to welcome you. I want to take a moment and alert you. Tonight's program, as I mentioned, is episode number 485. 485. That means in a mere 15 episodes, we, my friends, we will be celebrating the 500th show on the mystery ship. And it is not going to be one to miss. On the 500th show, I'm going to be giving away goodies like you can't imagine. Can I show you? Can I show you what I'm going to give away? So, we've got mystery ship clocks. Mystery ship clocks, not like the one Cosmic Grandpa has, but pretty decent little clocks, okay? We have the ever-loving Mambo mug. Yes, there are more Mambo mugs. 20 ounces of pure love. So big that you could use it for soup or perhaps ice cream, or maybe just a steaming cup of hot cocoa on a cold winter's day. But all I can tell you is it's enormous. I have the biggest hands you've ever seen, and I can stick my hand inside of this massive, massive mug. A regular coffee mug is about this big. This, my friends, is a Mambo mug. You want one of these. Ask anyone who has one. If you have a Mambo mug, put an X in the chat. I want to know how many Mambo mugs are out there. Who's got a Mambo mug out there? Throw an X in the chat. I'm sure you remember the good old days. The good old days when I gave away these wonderful, made in the USA bags, little totes to take to the store. Okay? These are well made. You will love them, I promise. I'm not kidding. They are something to relish. They are something to behold and be held. I hope that you will call in and win one of these the night of the 500th program. Don't forget that we have this beautiful, comfy, cotton, very comfortable throw pillow, perhaps for your living room couch. Of course, if you have neighbors that you don't like, you can always put Duska. You can put the Duska side out, and they'll leave in a minute, okay? Welcome. Not welcome. It's all up to you. If you win one of the 3 Duska pillows I have to give away that night on the 500th episode, I really hope that you will join us. I will let you know exactly when that day is. It's coming up. It's coming up. I'm not sure exactly what the date is going to be, but I promise you it is coming, and it's coming soon. All right? It is coming sometime in the next, I would say 3 to 4 weeks. We will be celebrating the 500th episode of The Mystery Ship. I hope you will make plans to be there. I really do. In the meantime, I want to welcome you aboard. We are going to have a wonderful little evening tonight. We are going to explore the Playboy Club. Zoso takes a look at the Playboy Club, and you know what happens when Zoso takes a look at something. This show could go anywhere. I'm so glad you're here. We're going to be back immediately following this video. I am glad you're here. I'm glad you're settled in. This video right here will give you a moment to take the dog out, go get yourself a gaping Zarge, perhaps refill whatever beverage it is that you're enjoying, or simply sit back and learn a little something from this video as it plays, brought to you entirely by your brother Zoe and the Mystery Ship. Welcome aboard. Folks, it is your brother Zoe. I am coming to you from a part of New York which I believe they call the East Village. Now, I don't know a whole lot about the East Village, but there is something I can tell you. As you wander down this street, this is called St. Mark's Place. I am just a little bit south of First Avenue. There's a magical little place right here. Magic? What do you mean, Zoe? What's magic about it? Well, let me tell you, back in 1975, Led Zeppelin, probably my favorite band, shot the front cover of their monumental album, Physical Graffiti, right here. It was, there was some sleight of hand done, and it's been 48 years, things have changed, but let me assure you, without question, I've done my research, the picture on the cover of this album was shot basically right where I'm standing, and let me prove it to you. Here's the album.
And there's the building. See the faces? See the faces above the doorways? Well, there they are. This is it. This is it. Now, on the album, they had to reduce it to a 3-story building so it would be square. So they chopped the top story off. But that is the album, and that is the actual building. A little piece of history right here in East Village. One other funny little thing about that building. In 1983, 8 years later, the Rolling Stones did an album called Tattoo You, and on it was a very popular song of theirs called I'm Just Waiting on a Friend. If you look at that video, it was also shot right there on that very same doorstep. Mick Jagger and Keith Richards were sitting right there. There must be something magical about this building. Son of a gun. This is going to be one of those evenings, isn't it? So, isn't it, buddy? Ah, boy. I had to take a gaping Zarge myself. And I ran outside and saw that the chickens were pecking away at something that they shouldn't have been pecking away at, so I shushed them. Then I came running back in the garage, and my belt loop hooked on a giant box of wrenches and sockets that I had, sending it to the floor. So right around the corner here is a mess. It's a mess. Oh, my goodness. Well, it's a mystery this ship ever gets out of the harbor sometimes. How are you doing out there? Are you ready to take a little trip with your brother Zoe? I'm so very glad to see everyone. Gloria has now made it. Good to see you, little lady. John Rogers in the house. Wonderful. Wonderful. At least the mic wasn't on. It would have been stupendous if the mic was on. Cosmic Grandpa. I'm not kidding you. I'm not kidding you. Oh, I would have saved it. I would have saved it and used it in future episodes. So tonight, your brother Zoe takes a look at the one, the only Playboy. Playboy Enterprises. Now, Playboy was really an American staple for many, many years. It's hard to believe, honestly, that it's all come to a grinding halt. I mean, it's not done, but there are only remnants of what was once a huge and quite prolific empire. The man behind it all, Hugh Hefner, a strange fellow, a very strange fellow. He managed to lure all kinds of people into his magazine, between the sheets of his magazine. Who's been on the cover of Playboy? Well, it's been just about anybody. Just about anybody has been on the cover of Playboy magazine. And who hangs out? Who hangs out at the Playboy clubs? Well, guys like this. Guys like this. This is your brother Zoe. I think this is 1980. It's either 1981 or 1982. Now, all the bunnies in there were numbered. This is number 1.
She was number one. And a fine specimen. Look at that cottontail. Look at that cotton tail right there. And look at the Chinese eyes on this guy. Well, does this guy look like he's had a couple of cool ones? Look at those freaking eyes. I'm either stoned out of my mind or I'm so drunk I don't know what's going on, but I do remember that evening. I do remember it, and there's a funny story to it. And I love to share funny stories, and I know you love my funny stories. So my father was a very successful businessman for, I don't know, 30 some odd years. I think he was with a huge international company, Borg Warner. My dad traveled the globe. He was their general sales manager. This took him to the Alaska pipeline, to the Middle East. He worked in Japan. He worked all over the world. Spent a whole lot of time in the refinery areas, the coast of Texas and Benicia refineries out there in San Francisco. But that was his life, and entertaining clients was just part of the job. And one day, my brother and I were working out in the yard with my dad, and he decided we needed to go down to the local lumber yard and pick up some stuff. So I am a junior. My name is Albert J. Sella Jr. My father was Albert J. Sella Sr. We were getting in the car to leave, and my dad's like, oh, for crying out loud, I left my money clip up on top of the dresser. Al, run up and grab it for me. So I run up and I grab his money clip. He never carried a wallet. He just had a small little folding thing with a gold hook in it that he kept his cash in. So he only just whipped this thing open, and there was his cash. My dad never walked around with less than $700-800 in his money clip. But he did have a small little section there. He did not believe in credit cards, but, for business purposes, he had the American Express and that kind of thing. So I run up and grab his money clip, and as I'm running down with it, it falls on the ground, and I go to pick it up, and it had opened up, and the money was to one side, and the credit card thing was to the other side, and I look, and I see a card, a membership card for the Playboy Club. And I thought this was rather unusual because my dad was about as straight-laced, conservative, one-woman man that ever came down the pike. I don't even have to ask or guess. I know my dad never even considered playing the field in all the years he was married. Even though he traveled the world and was all over the place, had plenty of money to do so, screwing around is just not something he would ever have done. But I was intrigued at why he would have a membership card to the Playboy Club. Like I said, this is like 1980. So I got in the car and handed him his money clip, and we're driving along, my brother and my dad and I, and I'm like, hey, Dad, I ask you something? He goes, sure, Albert, what is it? Why do you have a Playboy membership card in your wallet? He didn't bat an eye. He said, Albert, as you know, I have to take guests out and entertain them all over the world. I am always in New York, Chicago, L.A., Boston. He starts ripping off all these towns. And he goes, sometimes my clientele is looking for a good night out on the town, and it's my job to take them out and see that they have a good time. So sometimes when guests come to Los Angeles, I'll take them down to wherever they want to go, including the Playboy Club. And I said, well, Dad, it's got the exact same name on it as I do on my driver's license. Your Playboy card says Albert J. Sella on it. What's the odds that Bob and I borrow that card and the two of us get to go down to the Playboy Club and kind of check it out. As far as I can tell, that's one way that Mom will never, ever find out that you have that card. And he pulled it out and he gave it to me. And I never gave it back. And he never asked for it back. And that, my friends, that is how this picture came about. My brother and I went down to the Avenue of the Stars in Los Angeles, which was just south of Beverly Hills, and had a wonderful evening, getting absolutely crocked. The Playboy Club was, at least the one in Los Angeles, was rather lavish, and there were different rooms. You had like this lounge area where there's just people drinking and cute little bunnies all over the place with those wonderful little cottontails all over the place. I particularly loved the cuffs that they wore. The cuffs, did you see that? See the cuffs she's wearing? Yes, I remember it well. So my brother and I each had a picture taken with a Playboy bunny. And some of the girls who were there, who worked there, had actually been in the magazine. Yes, indeed. That is the truth. The Playboy Club had a lounge, like I said. It also had like a club room. And although there wasn't anybody performing the night that I was there, they were known to have jazz bands and have very, very famous names perform there. Names like Anne Margaret, Ella Fitzgerald, all kinds of people. We'll be looking into that deeply. But I thoroughly enjoyed myself. I have to say, it was something I don't think I'll ever forget. Wonderful time, a very, very wonderful time. Where is this thing I'm looking for? Here we go. That's exactly what I'm looking for. Now, the Playboy Club itself is an offshoot of the magazine. Willie Fixit says, Dad gave you the card? That's crazy. It's true. Zanimal. How can you be so straightforward with me? How can you ask such a question of a man of my demeanor? Seriously. But seriously, folks. It was... The Playboy Club itself was an offshoot of the magazine. What you have to understand is Playboy as an enterprise began in 1953 with the very first magazine. Hugh Hefner borrowed $8,000 and came up with a slew of names, just an absolute slew of names. They couldn't decide on any one particular name until one day his buddy suggested, what about Playboy? What about Playboy? And the idea was born. The very first lady to grace the inside cover of Playboy magazine was none other than Marilyn Monroe in 1953. Marilyn Monroe was the first one to do this, and the cover of the magazine boasted her. It boasted her, saying, let me read this for you. First time in any magazine, full color, the famous Marilyn Monroe nude. Now, let me tell you something. For 1953, folks, that was as racy as it got. I mean, that was pushing the limits. When the first issue came out, Hefner didn't put a date on it because the truth was, he didn't know if there was going to even be a second edition, a second volume. It was so difficult to put the first one together that he didn't know if he would make it to number 2, but the first one sold out. It sold like freaking hotcakes, like hotcakes. And he knew that he was onto something. It's pretty risque, to say the least. So you guys might, you men out there, not you ladies, but you men, Prayer Warrior Girl says, I would always laugh so when a guy would tell me he only buys it for the articles. I just read the articles. Believe it or not, Prayer Warrior Girl, at the onset of the magazine in the 50s, that statement would have actually been very true. The magazine published written works by some very, very prominent people. The entire book of Fahrenheit 451 was published in Playboy magazine before it became like a paperback. I mean, that's saying something. Novelists like Arthur C. Clarke, Ian Fleming of Tarzan fame. Let's see, bunches of people, and the cartoonists involved with the magazine, Jules Feiffer, Gan Wilson, some rather prominent names in cartoons were gracing the covers of the magazine. They also had regular articles like the Playboy jokes and, the little risque tales that people would write in and share their personal experiences, 90% of which were all made up by some kind of pervert. But so Hefner started Playboy in Chicago. And it was in 1960 that he opened the first Playboy Club. After the magazine was out for 7 years, they had amassed enough capital to where he said, we ought to open up a place where people can go and meet these Playboy bunnies. And that's exactly what he did. And it was a huge success. And I mean gigantic. It caught on. In 1960, they opened the first Playboy Club in Chicago. Very shortly thereafter, they opened one in Miami in 1961. New Orleans followed in 61. Then St. Louis and New York and Phoenix. Later in the 60s, you had Detroit. They had 2 of them in Detroit. Baltimore and Cincinnati soon followed, as did Kansas City, Los Angeles, Atlanta, San Francisco, Boston, Denver, Lake Geneva, Wisconsin. Interesting choice. Buffalo had one. Dallas, of course, St. Petersburg, Florida, San Diego, Columbus, Ohio, Lansing, Michigan, Omaha, Nebraska, and Des Moines. Those were all of the Playboy clubs spread out across the United States. It was a good time was had by all. It was a place for people to go and have a couple of cool ones. You could spend a little time with some of the bunnies. You could get your picture taken. By the way, that picture that I had taken, that Polaroid, I still have it. It's somewhere in one of these boxes. It's probably right over here behind me somewhere. It costs $10. $10 to have your picture taken with a Playboy bunny. But, I mean, was I going to say no? Sheeple says, we all know the truth now. Hef was a CIA asset running a honey trap blackmail operation. I believe it could have been more than that, but I'm inclined to agree with you. I'm inclined to agree with you. In Los Angeles, so in 1975, Hefner moved his operation out of Chicago, out to the sunny confines of beautiful Southern California. And I can tell you that in 1975, Holmby Hills was a wonderful place to be if you were Hugh Hefner. He bought a place called the Playboy Mansion. This place was massive. It was massive. It had grottos and pools and underground caves, and it had lavish velvet covered walls and bedrooms aplenty. And there were always some kind of the Rolling Stones hung out there where they when they were in town. I mean, you could just about find anyone hanging out at the Playboy Mansion, including people like John Wayne. Okay, so Hugh had to have something going on. Now I'm going to share some personal notes a little bit later because in the summers, every August, Hugh would throw a party, and it was called A Midsummer Night's Dream, and it was the party to it. I'm talking. It was the event of the summer. Anybody who was anybody, if you were a Hollywood socialite, you killed to get into that event. It was that big of a deal. It was enormous. And lots of crazy stories came out of that. But let's back up for a second. Let's just look at let's look at Playboy Enterprises itself. Because, so, to start it, in 1953, he had $1,000 to his name that he borrowed from his mother. Hugh Hefner borrowed $1,000 from his mom to start the magazine, and he decided to publish it himself. Some of the other names that were almost chosen for the magazine were Top Hat, Gentleman, Sir, Satyr, Pan, Bachelor, before his good friend suggested Playboy. And the name stuck. As I showed you, the first centerfold was Marilyn Monroe. Strangely enough, that very same photograph was released as a calendar. It was released as a calendar in 1955. The reason I know this is I have one. Where is it? Where is it? Inbox? Is this it? Nope. Nope. I sent it to myself. I know I did. There it is. There it is. There it is. Let me share this with you. Oh, man. Come on. Okay. All right. Yes, the same photograph taken in Playboy was issued as a pinup calendar, and she stayed the model the entire year. You tore the pages off. This is a real calendar hanging on the wall of my bachelor brother's house. I gave this to him. I got it from a friend who used to be a collector. And I gave this to my brother, and one of his girlfriends recognized its value and had it framed. So he took a picture. I said, Bob, I need a picture of that thing tonight. So he took a picture of it and sent it to me. That is a real deal. And he's like, Al, I'm going to send this to you. I don't need this. You can have it. And so one day, maybe when I do move my studio from here over to the other side of the garage, perhaps Marilyn will grace the walls of my new studio when I don't have a brown tarp hanging behind a tool shed in the corner of my garage. I'm hoping that one day we actually get that way. Scooter Pie, how are you doing? How is it going? So Playboy magazine. In by 1960, Hugh realized that he had something cooking. All right, he bought an airplane. He bought an airplane and painted it black with the great big bunny on the tail, and he would fly celebrities, particularly entertainers, to each, they would entertain at one Playboy club, say in Chicago, and he would fly them, say somebody like Sammy Davis Jr., he would fly them to go perform in Los Angeles so that they didn't have to pay for airfare. All the while, all the women serving drinks on the plane were, of course, real Playboy bunnies. He knew what he was doing. He really did know what he was doing. From 1966 to 1976, a fiction editor was hired at Playboy, and he brought in just a host of writers, people like Kurt Vonnegut. I'm sure you all remember Slaughterhouse-Five, right? John Updike, Saul Bellow, Joyce Carol Oates, some James Dickey, some Michael Crichton, some prominent writers. Some prominent writers appeared in the pages of Playboy. So, although you were joking earlier, Prayer Warrior Girl, there were in fact some people who did buy it for the articles, but I don't think I was one of them. And it kind of backfired on Hefner in 1968, because you can imagine this is the height now of the sexual revolution. Women are burning their bras, and mini skirts are hot and all that, and women are starting to feel like they don't want to be viewed as sex objects any longer. Although that was steamrolling at the time in the late 60s, it didn't necessarily slow down Playboy. Playboy didn't see any kind of decline until about 1975, 1976. It continued to grow all of those years, but then something happened. After peaking in the 1970s, Playboy got its first bit of competition. Yes, first on the scene was Penthouse. Now, Penthouse was a racier, a little more trashy kind of thing. One thing that Hugh Hefner, if he is to be credited with anything, he always had just absolutely beautiful women in the pages, whereas Hustler kind of was on the fringe of the hot chicks. I'm not saying that they weren't hot in that magazine. I'm just saying that they were a little more trashy. Okay. Then, of course, came Wee, O-U-I, Wee Wee. And that was just pure sluts. I mean, absolute hardcore, leaning towards pornography, which is something that Playboy never was. If Playboy had anything, it had class, okay? It did have class. They never showed although they showed the upper part of a woman, they didn't show the lower part of a woman until 1971. That was the first time that you got a little peekaboo down below. A lot of people think that it's been buck naked from day one. That is not the case. It was a long, slow, steady fight to actually go that far with the magazine, and the bunch of people tried to talk him out of it. He kind of thought it would work, and it did. And what happened is the minute that he started showing the nether regions, his sales tripled. They tripled. And that's when the competition said, holy crap, we got to get in on this. He's got a cash cow going on. And that's what happened. That is what happened. And that was really the downfall of the whole thing. Too much of a good thing, gentlemen? I'm sure any gentleman in here can attest that too much of a good thing is, it kind of just takes the flavor away. It's not exciting anymore. When it's just everywhere you look, it's like, you've seen one, you've seen them all. It really is. Spudley. Spud, you almost made me spit my soda out my nose. Holy smokes. Spud, I got to keep an eye on you. I got my eye on you, Spudley. As Hef got older, it was a very sad thing. Very, very sad thing. I mean, the whole pajamas, going around in his silk robe, in his pajamas and slippers with a pipe, with beautiful babes all around. I mean, that pretty much was his life. And there are rumors, many of them, and I met a number of Playboy starlets who graced the centerfolds of the magazines, who told me that although it wasn't an absolute prerequisite, like 99 out of 100 of the girls who became the centerfold did, in fact, end up having sex with Hefner. And as he got older, she said it just got sadder. The stories were just, I'm not going to share them with you here tonight. If you want to know some real perversion, write me, I'll tell you. It's very sad. It's very, very sad. I mean, yeah. What kind of a 20-year-old chick who wants to be in the center of a magazine, the centerfold of a magazine for $1 million, wants to go to bed with a 72-year-old man in order to make it happen? I mean, how pathetic is that? It just, yowza. Yeah. So as Hef got older, his daughter actually took over the reins, not for very long. She was on top of it from 1975 to 1988, and believe it or not, she bowed out of it. She was a feminist and felt like she was helping to degrade women. And she said, thanks, but no thanks. You can count me out. And he, in turn, hired another publisher who had the name Scott Flanders, who there was an interim CEO, but publisher Scott Flanders is the one who kind of coasted it to a finish. And that's really what kind of happened. It coasted to a finish. In 2000, the magazine celebrated its 50th anniversary. The 50th anniversary in January of 2004. Celebrations were held in Las Vegas, Los Angeles, New York, Moscow, all over the place. The sad thing is, by this time, the whole idea of Playboy and the Playboy Bunny, it was coming to an end. It was becoming yesterday's news. There wasn't So when Playboy first came out, there was nothing like it. It was unheard of to open a magazine that you would buy at a store and crack it open and see women's breasts, okay? That didn't happen. When it did happen in 1953, it was like unheard of. That's why Hef said he wasn't sure there was ever going to be a second episode, a second magazine. He thought he was going to get sued. He thought that people would have a shit fit, but in fact, it turned out to be quite successful, and it grew and it grew and it grew. It reached the height of its fame, as I said, in the mid 70s, but with the other competition, things just got sluttier quickly. By the 80s, it just the titillation had worn off. It just wasn't. By then, you had porno movies in raunchy, rundown theaters across the country. Who's gonna look at a still picture when you could go down and pay $8 and sit in some dingy little flea bag of a movie theater and watch a movie of someone doing something? With the advent of porn, with the advent of X-rated movies, that was the death knell for Playboy magazine. It really was. It all went downhill after that. Oh, I cannot tell you how much I need that grog right now. I have had a week like you could never imagine. Never imagine. The clubs that I was telling you about that just, they started in the early 60s and started popping up all over the country. I mentioned the handful of cities: Chicago, Miami, New Orleans, St. Louis, Baltimore, Detroit, Kansas City, Los Angeles, everywhere. They started drying up. Chicago closed in 1986. Miami closed in 85. New Orleans closed in 1974, as did St. Louis. New York hung in there till 1986. Phoenix closed in 1983. Detroit closed in 1972. Baltimore closed in 77. Cincinnati closed in 83. Los Angeles closed in 86. So that means, folks, that photo that I showed you, a mere 5 years later, that poor woman was out of work. She was out of work. You know what? I got to adjust this. Here we go. You really need to take in the whole. You need to take in the whole thing. A mere 5 years after this picture was taken, that poor gal was out of work. Boy, you see how scuffed up my Polaroid picture is after all these years? And look, seriously, look how freaking crocked I am. Wow. That's pretty embarrassing. But it is. It is what it is. I'm not going to downplay it. I went to a Playboy club. Big deal. Big freaking deal. Yeah. Spud says, I'm sure somebody took her in. Gave her a... Spud. You're on fire tonight, Spud. You really are, man. So the clubs, they were all closing. Many of them closed in the late 70s, early 80s, and by 1986, they were all gone. There were two remaining clubs. Lansing, Michigan, and Des Moines, Iowa, were the last two clubs that closed in 1988. Now, strangely enough, they brought back the Playboy Club in the 2000s. Where was it? 2010, I believe. No, sorry, to October 2006, Playboy opened a new Playboy club in Las Vegas, Nevada. The new club at the Palms, with its prominent neon bunny head, had casinos, bars, a restroom with pictures of playmates on the walls. It closed a mere 6 years later in 2012. The international versions, there was clubs in London, there were clubs in the Caribbean, in Jamaica. They all closed down too. It's very sad. And they even tried it one more time in New York City, thinking they could make it work. On September 12th of 2018, a Playboy Club was opened in New York City, West 42nd Street. 42nd Street, Midtown Manhattan. You know, boy, if any place could support it, it would be freaking, yeah, right downtown in the heart of Sin City there. It lasted a mere 1 year. It actually, I'll give it 14 months. It made it 14 months, and they shut her down in November of 2019. Sadly, it is, well, it's now a steakhouse. It's now a steakhouse. But, you know, the clubs didn't offer, there weren't nudes inside the clubs. Just cute chicks in bunny outfits. And is there anything really wrong with that? I mean, is that such a sin that a businessman like my dad could maybe take 3 or 4 of his clients who had flown in from, say, Baton Rouge to Los Angeles to see his factory, and, you know, he wants to give them a good evening, so he takes them on down to the Playboy Club and has a girl sit on a guy's lap for a couple of minutes for a couple of laughs and a story that they'll tell all their good old boys back home for the next 20 years. You know? Was it that big of a sin? I don't think so. I don't think so. But I think that the demise of the Playboy empire is it's a reflection of our society. Because when it first came out, it was like, ooh la la, oh my goodness, can you believe that somebody is doing this? And 25 years later, it was like, naked woman, who gives a rap? You can see those on the street. I mean, what was once risque and just unheard of, and something that everybody was clamoring to see, became yesterday's news. It's a sad tale. It goes hand in hand with the morality of this country. How everything just went to hell. It really did. When we gave up our morals, you know, that's when the world went to shit. I recently bought a shirt, and it says, I may be old. It says, I may be old, but I remember I got to see the world before it all went to shit. And I wear that shirt proudly. It's sad. It's sad that there has to be something that, I don't know. I think it really is a reflection upon our country, and that saddens me. It saddens me. I'm no longer surprised that 50% of marriages don't make it. I'm no longer surprised at anything. When you have no morals, the world is a filthy, dirty place. It really is. Man. I'm looking for one particular video, and I'm having a hard time finding it. Where is it? There it is. That's it. That's the one I want to play. Come on, open up. Okay. All right. I'm going to play you a little video, and then I will rejoin you on the other end of this thing, and I'm going to ask a few questions of you. I'm going to ask a few questions of you when we get to the other side of this. I want to know if, I want to know. Inquiring minds want to know. I'm going to ask some questions of you, and I hope you will call in when the time presents itself. Until that time, I'm going to leave you this video right here, and we'll be back on the other side of this. I will see you, folks, momentarily.
My fellow citizens, our country is in danger, but not to be despaired of. On you depend the fortunes of America. We, the Americans of today, are ready to act worthy of ourselves, ready to do what must be done to ensure happiness and liberty for ourselves, our children, and our children's children. We are a nation under God, and I believe God intended for us to be free. The crisis we're facing today, it does require, however, our best effort and our willingness to believe in ourselves and to believe in our capacity to perform great deeds, to believe that together, with God's help, we can and will resolve the problems which now confront us. And after all, why shouldn't we believe that? We are Americans.
I'm going to leave that right there. I'm going to leave that right there because I do appreciate each and every one of you who support this channel in whichever way that you do. The truth of the matter is, one of the finest ways that you can support this channel is simply by telling a friend about it. Whether it is your neighbor on the other side of your fence next door, or the guy waiting at the bus stop bench with you, or a guy down at the gas station. It doesn't really matter. It doesn't really matter, but if you share it, it's one of the best things you can do for your friend Zoe. For those of you who take that extra step and you know who you are because you're freaking wonderful. Those of you who choose to fill my coffers with gold pills and lemons, I freaking love you. And I appreciate you to know it. And thanks to you, I can do things like give away clocks and bags and pillows and mugs and lamps and all that frisbees, the stuff I've given away over the years. Anyway, I thank each and every one of you for coming and hanging out with me. It means the world. It really does. You guys are the best. I want to also take this moment to remind those of you who might be new to the channel that each and every Saturday, only on the Foxhole and only on D Live, now none of the other channels, only on Foxhole and D Live, you can find your brother Zoe behind the helm of a very fine music program. Yes, I invite you to join me tomorrow, where the mystery ship sets sail, playing the best classic rock ever played to vinyl. I enjoy these Saturdays more than anything. I hope to see you there. Tell a friend, come join us, have a great time. Come hang out with us. It's freaking awesome. It is freaking awesome. I play the stuff that doesn't get played anymore. So you'll have a good time. Yeah, I promise. I promise you will. So I want to ask. This is what I want to ask. I'm going to tell one more little story, like I always do. Your brother Zoe loves to tell a good story. Laura Dora, how wonderful to see you. Thank you so much, darling. Great to have you aboard. My goodness, that is wonderful. So, when I was a young boy, and I'm talking, I believe I was 8, and that would make it 1967. My brother and I were walking through the woods. We lived in a rural part of northern New Jersey, and our house was nestled off the street into the woods. And, it was nice. You could walk through the woods for quite a ways before you might see somebody else's house way the hell over there through the trees. And we were always looking for turtles or, just interesting stuff. And we wandered through the woods, and amazingly, after like 20 minutes, we started to come to a clearing, and I could actually see what was the main highway that my mom used to take us to school on. And I was kind of astounded. I'm like, wow, we walked all the way to the highway from our house. I'm sure it wasn't more than a quarter of a mile, but when you're a little kid, it seems like it's a great, tremendous distance. As we were closing in on the highway, we glanced down, and there was an old, tattered, torn up, obviously rained on many times, version of either what had to be probably a 1966 or a 1967 issue of Playboy magazine. And it was the very first time in my life that I opened up a magazine and saw a couple of the finer things in life. Let me put it to you that way. At first I stood there just not believing my tiny little Catholic altar boy eyes. And as I thumbed through page after page after page of this torn, tattered magazine, I mean, it had been out in the weather for quite some time. My little brother, with his buck teeth and his glasses, is, trying to peer over my arm to see what I'm seeing. And I wasn't necessarily sharing because I had come across something most unusual, if you ask my little virgin eyeballs. So I remember I sat down. I figured I'm going to look at this thing. I may as well sit down and really get a look. So, because this was way better than the than the Sears catalog. Okay, that's all I can tell you. Is this magazine was way more exciting than the Sears catalog. You know, the women wearing bras. So, I'm 8 years old and I'm thumbing through my very first version of Playboy magazine, and um, my brother decided to go home first, and I stayed a little longer, and I left the magazine there because I knew where to find it again if I had to go back there. And boy, when I got home, I come out of the woods. I'm trudging across the neighbor's yard, and I'm getting all the way up to the house. And I remember I opened up the sliding glass door, and my mother was there in the kitchen. My brother had beat me home by like 20 minutes. So, you've been out looking at Playboy magazine, have you? Oh, my mom was pissed. You wait till your father gets home. Oh, man, I remember it. I remember it so vividly. I swear to God, it's as if it just freaking happened yesterday. Okay. Uke, Lone Uke, what are you doing, my man? Good to see you. Good to have you aboard. So, my dad does come home. My dad eventually does come home, and my mom tells him that, do you know what your son did today? Your son was out looking at Playboy magazine. And of course, I mean, I don't remember. I Sigurd. I all I remember is my dad tried to downplay it and talk about, if you want to see people's bare naked butts, then I can't remember how he downplayed it, but I'll say this. I kind of think my mom might have been disappointed at the lack of screaming and yelling that she had probably hoped my dad would, give me. My dad was probably inside going, son of a bitch, he's only 8 and he figures that stuff out already? I don't know. I should have asked my dad so many years later. I wish he was still around to ask. Maybe one day I'll get to ask him again. But what I want to ask you, people, and I'm pretty much talking to the guys out there. I mean, I'm sure you girls, there is such a thing as Playgirl, right? In fact, let's look that up. When did the first issue of Playgirl publish? June of 1973. Now, I never would have guessed that. For all the tea in China. I thought it would have been years later. Ladies, I don't want you to rat on yourself, but if you ever perused the pages of Playgirl magazine, just put a little X in the chat. Don't be ashamed. Nobody's going to think anything less of you. Okay? We all know you're wonderful Christian women here. But if you, at some point in your life, got a peek at a Playgirl magazine, I just want you to put an X in the chat. I want to see how the other half lives out there as compared to us guys, because we are, we're not to be trusted. We are not to be trusted. Yes, indeed. Black Cat says, good luck, everyone. Good luck. So I'm pretty much speaking to the boys here. Tonight is probably a phone call night for the boys. All right? I want to know. There it is. There is the number. It is on your screen in bold letters. Bold letters. There. Oh, my goodness. Ray Charles could see that. Ray Charles could see that. Gentlemen, how old were you? How old were you when you saw your first Playboy magazine, and do you remember it? Don't leave me hanging all alone on the clothesline, gentlemen. I've already bared my soul. How old were you when you saw your first Playboy? And while I'm waiting for someone to call and tell me the truth, okay, we do have a live phone. With that much we have. Foxy Lady put XXXX. When I moved to California about 5-6 years later, after my initial find of a Playboy magazine, and I went in my friend's dad's garage, and he had an entire wall full of, I think it was, well, let's find out what Willie has to say. This should certainly be a wonderful phone call. Willie, fix it. What are the odds of you calling in?
Hey, man, I'm trying to remember, but it was the guy up the street that had him. My dad didn't have. I didn't get a card, a fucking Playboy card from my dad, man. How cool is that? That's just too funny. Got the VIP card from your dad. That's wild.
I kind of had him by the balls, Willie.
Man, I guess I think and whatever, but that was just, I mean, that's, my dad, I don't know, my dad always said, no, ask your mom, you know what I mean? But we had a guy up the street, whatever, there was never any of that shit in my house ever. You know what I mean?
Oh, yeah.
It wasn't like you could find that.
Oh, yeah, no.
Nothing.
No.
But there was other guys. We were in a neighborhood, right? We had a circle, like a 3/4 of a mile circle. Instead of a dead end, it was a circle.
Yeah.
So we had a bunch of houses and things. What are you talking about, Jen? My dog is crying all of a sudden. All right. So anyways, so either one of the guy had them, right? So we got them, right? And then you were trying to say what year it was, right?
Yeah.
I don't know. We probably got them little, right? And we got them 8 or 10 or something. I didn't even know if we knew boners yet. You know what I mean? We were like prepubescent or whatever, but we got them. There was already hunts in the woods and different things. And however, it's funny as shit. But the one thing I wanted to say is I seen it today, and I never seen it before.
What is that?
The SR-71, you know what that is?
Oh, absolutely, the Blackbird.
The Blackbird, right, right, whatever. Well, there was a rudder on it. They put the bunny on that one time.
Oh, no kidding.
And it crashed or fucked up or they changed the rudders out or whatever. And it made it to eBay, right, one time. And somebody bought it. And they got it back. And it's in a museum in the basement or somewhere because you can't have that. But it was just too funny when I was...
So,
what's happening?
So, Willie, you were probably...
Say hello to Zoe?
You were...
No, you're right here. Say hello. I woke me up. I'm a jerk. Okay.
So...
But I ain't trying to be a jerk. We're talking strippers and Playboy and stuff. I didn't even mention that your mom and her sister were in the Playboy magazine. Which is the thing.
Willie, before you get yourself in more trouble.
No kidding, I'm telling you, man.
Before you get yourself in more trouble, Willie, I think I'm going to politely let you go and say thank you for your call.
My hardest thing I ever talked to my mom about was the blowjob with Clinton, right? And I was like, Mom, I said, you're a Democrat. How do you like that? You know, and she's like, John, these guys always do that, and that's just the way it goes. And you know, when your mom says that, and just smooshes it right over and makes it good, right?
Willie?
It doesn't matter or whatever.
On my mother's deathbed, I would never be able to speak with her about anything even close to that. I don't even think my mom would discuss toilet paper with me.
I didn't
Okay?
say blowjob to my mom. I said, you know, what he's going through or whatever. But you follow what I'm saying, man. And
I do.
Like, she just told me, she says, men in power have to do that. They don't have their stuff. They just do that. You know, or something. And it blew me away. But, I mean, whatever. However, that fucking, exactly. Like, whatever.
Willie, I love you lots. Sometimes you got to know when it's time to say good night. I appreciate your call, buddy. I appreciate your call. I love you, man.
Oh, no, outside. I'm good. All right, hey, man, I love you.
Love you too.
Yeah,
be good.
There is, that whole Playboy thing was wild with the tail.
Oh, yeah.
The tail one on the SR-71, because it was still secret when it was gone, and it ended up on eBay, and then they had to take it back, and it's in a museum now because there was something like it was made of titanium on honeycomb or something, and some of them ended up in a scrapyard, and somebody stole one, and it made it out to eBay, and it had the Playboy bunny on it. That's why I'm adamant about telling that story.
It's all good.
But they took it back.
Ah.
From the
we
guy that
we love you, brother.
Yeah. All right, I love you, man.
Be good,
Later
my
on,
friend.
kid. I hope your paint job goes good
All right.
after the rain.
See ya.
Later
See ya.
on, bud.
Willie Fix It, the inimitable Willie Fix It, the one, the only Willie Fix It. That's a fact. That's a fact, Jack. As Willie was sort of alluding to, you know, there weren't any magazines like that in his household, but in the neighborhood there was. And about 5 years after the first time that I saw my first Playboy at 8 years old, I think I was 11 maybe. By this time we had moved to California, and I was screwing around in my friend's garage, and I saw that his dad had an entire row of Popular Mechanics in his garage. And he had a huge toolbox. And then I opened up the lid of the toolbox, and son of a gun, there was all kinds of Playboys down inside that toolbox. So I think we were like, you know, when we were kids, if you got a flat tire on your bike, you took the tire off, you got out some spoons, you pulled the tube out, you know, you got out the sandpaper, the little scratchy thing, and you patched your own tire, and then you pumped it up with one of those, you fix stuff. Well, somebody was they were fixing tires, and meanwhile, I'm in the garage with a Playboy. I've got a Playboy here, and I've got a Popular Mechanics on the outside of it, so everybody thinks I'm reading Popular Mechanics, and I was fixated on, couple of the finer things in life. Welcome aboard the mystery ship. Who do I have on the line tonight?
Hey, Captain, this is Starface.
Starface, how you doing, my brother?
Good.
Has tonight's topic stuck its way into the memory banks of your life?
You know, I got a couple of memories of you know, Playboy stuff. And you were right about your you know, about how all the different types of magazines. You know, Playboy always had a lot more taste, and Penthouse it always seemed a little fuzzy, you know, and
yeah,
Hustler was just trash,
sleaze,
heavy,
sleaze,
Yankee, and
yeah.
And, you know, I mean, but you know, my favorite, you know, growing up, centerfold was Kathy St. George. I think she was.
Kathy St. George.
She was. She wound up being like the makeup artist for Playboy, right?
Really?
Yeah, and then that was the story. And then she was like one of the '80s Playboy pinups. And I remember when they had like Family Feud, they had like the '80s Playboy bunnies against the '90s Playboy bunny. I don't know if you remember.
Okay.
They had some, Playboy nostalgia stuff going on, and I'm going, wow, they age pretty well, some of them, But yeah, when you're, I'm sure they were spoiled,
Wow.
So, yeah, and I personally didn't have a lot of, I didn't grow up with my folks, didn't have a lot of, porn,
Oh, yeah.
stuff like that laying about. My dad didn't even, have a calendar about it, but he did have a couple penthouses stashed away. I found one time with cigarettes. I was looking for cigarettes, and I was in junior high school, and I'm like, hey, what's this? Penthouse. Oh, nice. But, yeah, I wasn't, after I moved out of the house and, started hanging around with other people, and I had some friends that had, all the Playboy bunnies on their walls. And,
Oh, yeah.
I went through all
Oh,
that.
yeah.
Wow, and did like a binge thing,
Dude.
Playboy binge. But, yeah, I mean, some of my favorites were Kathy St. George. I can't even remember some of the names, but
Interesting. I'm looking at the cover
Barbie
of that.
Benton
That was August of 1982. Kathy St. George. Interesting.
Yeah.
I'm waiting for the dang picture to. My internet is so slow. The hamster has died on the wheel. But yeah. Oh, image not available. Of course, eBay won't allow me to look at it because it's they're at least a private and decent company. So good for them. Good for eBay.
You were talking about some of the stories. The ones that I used to read were the letters.
The letters to
Some
Playboy,
of the
sure.
letters were pretty racy.
Dude, and
Whoa, man! I'm going to try that. I never thought of that. Wow, So, yeah, those letters, boy,
Yeah.
I'll tell you, that's imagination out there.
Do you remember how old you were when you saw your very first Playboy?
I'm going to say 10.
Yeah.
I'm going to say like I was about 10
Yeah.
when I was able to like hold one and look through it and not just say, oh, there's a Playboy,
Right,
No.
right. I mean, no, have the time to actually thumb through it and not have some adult there with a belt ready to strap you for doing it.
Yeah, and not
like,
just, it's in the stand and you take a sneak peek and, they'd wrap them, usually even in the mail, they came.
Oh, yeah.
And, if you had a subscription, like, ooh, I'm big time. Look at me.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, it was kind of, what I liked was the Sharper Image catalog. That was always my favorite.
Oh, dude, you remember when, I remember this personally from the 70s when you would go into like a 7-Eleven, right? And they would have like magazines behind the counter and they would have all the different magazines. They had like a little, I don't know, it was like a little plaque over the front of Playboy and Gallery and Hustler. So you couldn't actually see what was on the cover because the covers were normally fairly racy, but you could see just the type of what, Playboy or Hustler or We, you could just see that poking up over the top of the veneer, and it was, just think, can you imagine how uptight we were back then? It's crazy. It's crazy. And nowadays, I mean, little kids are, it's crazy. It's crazy. Dude, I appreciate your call always.
Yeah, I appreciate the topic, and thanks for letting me.
Absolutely, dude. Great to talk to you. Always.
Talk to you later.
Mm-hmm. Bye-bye. And, honestly, there's something. Okay, so, I mean, I'm not worried about embarrassing myself anymore. I've been embarrassed so many times in my life. I couldn't care less. I really couldn't care less. But, when I was a little kid, even at 7 years old, like I said, thumbing through the Sears catalog, and all of a sudden you're looking for bicycles, so you take it's like the size of a phone book, and you start spreading the leaves like a deck of cards, and you break the giant catalog open, and you accidentally come across the women's bra page, and you're 7 years old. Now back in I'm old enough to remember you guys remember the 1960s, the missile tits, the bras that made women's breasts look like they were just a couple of missiles, like bullets. So obviously there was something coursing through my veins to where I at least knew there was something exciting about looking at that. Okay. The Sears catalog excited me. Can you imagine my elation in finding my very first Playboy at 8 years old? I mean, I'm like, oh my God, look at, I was taken aback. All I knew is I liked it. That much I can say. All I knew was I liked it. Oh my God. The mystery ship is a mess tonight. Your brother Zoe is, he's off his rocker. I'm off my rocker once again. I think we're going to turn this ship for shore, people. I think I've had about enough. I think I've probably had about enough of this topic. But, there are a couple of very important things that I do want to talk to you about before we close this one out. Before we close this one out, I want to just remind us about 4 people, 4 very important people. I mentioned this the other night. Our dear sister, Miss 320, and her family. She's been very excited in the chats each and every Saturday about being a grandmother again. Oh, we'll take this call. Welcome aboard the mystery ship. Who do I have on the line?
Well, what's up, Zoso? It's Sigurd.
Sigurd the Dragon Slayer. How are you doing, my brother?
Oh, just wonderful. Another damn paradise. God, listen to your topic and it's just like, that would be like finding a gold mine out in the woods.
I mean, dude, for me, an 8-year-old boy, it really was. I mean, it was absolute an 8-year-old. Tight-ass white boy, Catholic altar boy. That was like so far out there. I couldn't freaking believe one of my eyes.
I don't know. It's not that abnormal. It's like that's about the time I started getting interested in girls, and like, what are they hiding over there? It's kind of weird. It's like my parents were like into fine arts and shit, and so they're pictures of dudes, and and there was nothing wrong with that, but but Playboy was a whole different story.
No, it really was. It really was, wasn't it?
But it's like, well, I remember like National Geographics, and
oh yeah,
like, well, hey, there's some titties. Wow. It's like
dude, I distinctly remember looking at those with my friends in like the 4th grade in New Jersey, looking at National Geographics.
Well, they even had them at school.
Oh, we did. We had them in the library of our Catholic school. Yeah. So, but yeah, it's kind of funny. But yeah, I mean that, a picture of an African woman in a tribe out in the middle of, wherever, is vastly different than
yeah.
a woman on some velvet sheets with just the right lighting and you know.
Yeah, did a little enhancement. And but
Yeah.
I mean, I remember the first time I come across Playboy is like, and my oldest brother like got a box of them at a garage sale. I was probably like 8 or 9. So he brought them home, and he was like,
Yeah.
he tried to hide them in his closet.
Oh
I mean,
man.
he was in his teens, and so it's like,
As
I don't know if my mom ever found them or not, but they was around for a while. But
that's funny. That's
you
funny.
know, look at him, and it's just like,
I guess it's absolutely perfectly normal for a red-blooded American boy in his formative years to come across something like that and realize, gosh darn it, there's something about these pictures.
you know, then like 2 years later, you know, the girls started to blossom, and
Yeah.
5th and 6th grade.
And all of a sudden you're looking at them a little different. Man, did you see Cindy Johnson today? Wow.
Yeah, she's got some big ones.
Emma Biggins. Emma Biggins. Sigurd, I'm going to let you rumble, buddy. I got to get this ship on down the
Hey, you have a
road.
good night.
Hey, great to talk to you, man.
Thanks, bud. There.
You betcha.
Take care. Bye.
Yes, indeed. That was always a. Do I have? Let me. I got to do this. This was one of the names we used to write on the walls at school. Emma Biggins. Holy smokes, Emma Biggins. Youth, it goes away so quickly. 1 minute you're gazing at a Playboy magazine, and the next thing you know, you're talking about it 50 years later, like it used to be something. Crazy times, crazy times. Son of a gun. I was there. I lived them, people. What can I say? What can I possibly say? Before I got off track, I wanted to bring up several people who I know are in need of prayer. Miss 320's family, Miss 320's daughter, unfortunately lost the baby that she was 7 months along. I mean, the last handful of Saturdays, she was joking like, we've got to pick a name for baby. We've got to pick a name for baby. And then she reached out to me with just the saddest news. It was heartbreaking, very, very heartbreaking. Please keep Miss 320's family in your prayers if you would. This is a big one, people. This is really a big one. A wonderful lady who has a beautiful show over on Foxhole. Her name is Sandra. She has a show called Coffee Talk with Sandra. She was back on the air last night for the first time in a week. This wonderful lady who she and I are playing cat and mouse, hit and miss with trying to get each of us on the other person's show. I mean, it's going to happen. It's going to happen. It's just between my job and her schedule, we haven't quite been able to connect. And plus, there's a 2-hour time difference between the two of us, so throw that in there for more excitement. But she just spent a week in the hospital. They found a blood clot in her lung, and although she is home and has made a couple of broadcasts, she said this morning on the Greenbeard show that she's not quite feeling herself. And I would like to ask us to please pray for her. Pray that this blood clot just dissolves, that God wraps his loving arms around this woman and heals her like there's no tomorrow. I got a phone call from my brother, Gary Flessner. I didn't get to speak with him personally, but he left a message on my machine, and I got to say this. He sounds great. He is lucid. He is speaking clearly, speaking quickly. But the message he left is, hey, Zoe, I had a relapse. I have to go back to the assisted living center. I'll probably be there for about a month. Then I'll finally get to go home again. But do me a favor. Please tell the people I need prayers. So I'm doing just that. Our dear brother Gary Flessner, please, please, folks, keep him in your prayers. He says he's had a bit of a relapse, and it's going to be another bit before he can go home and enjoy his independence the way he's used to. Please keep our dear brother Gary Flessner in your prayers, if you would. And the young woman named Carrie. This is a young, probably 30s or early 30s young lady that we shared her photo before on this program. She's got, I think, 3 children, and she has got just a whole host of medical problems, very, very serious medical problems that, I mean, I have to say it really doesn't look good. But, if you are a believer like me, you know that the very name of our Lord and Savior Jesus Christ can heal anything as long as you believe. I believe this woman will be healed, and I pray for her daily. I hope you will too. Carrie is her name. Please pray for this young woman. She needs your prayers. She really does. Our dear sister Sue, up in upstate New York, Susan Danielle. She is down and out in Beverly Hills. She has had a couple of discs slip in her back, lower back. And folks, you're talking to the king right here. That is excruciating pain. And a mere, I think it's 6 days from now, November the 9th, May the 9th, Sue's daughter, her very young daughter, I think 16, 17-year-old daughter, is going in to have a nodule of some kind cut away from, like, a very scary part in her neck here. One slight misstep by the doctor could cost this young girl her life. I want you to please pray for Susan and her daughter. Please keep both of them in your prayers. They need them. They need them right now. That God would guide the doctor's hands on her daughter's surgery, and that Susan would see some kind of relief for the pain she's experiencing right now, because it's brutal. It's brutal. Anyway, I want to thank each and every one of you for coming and hanging out on the mystery ship tonight. You guys you're extraordinary. Let me thank the wonderful people over here at the home of free speech in America, Due Diligence. Holy Hannah, my brother, drops a freaking bomb right there. Starface, thank you. Thank you. Girl Patriot, Cynthia. Starface again, Due Diligence again, Laura Dora. You guys are the best. Thank you so much for your generosity over there. You are wonderful. Wonderful. Over here in Lemon Land, they're no strangers to dangers themselves. They have been extremely generous tonight. Extremely generous, and I am going to reciprocate. Yes, I am. Yes, I am. Signed, sealed, delivered. I'm yours. Okay, here it comes. Here it comes, people. I am releasing the treasure chest over there at D Live. It is coming to you in a mere 17 seconds. Thank you, everyone. Gloria and John Rogers and Black Cat and Peggy Dancer and Bad Zoot and Jayla 17 and Coffee Talk with, oh my goodness, Peggy Dan. You guys are, and Gloria, dear Gloria, holy smokes. All right, here come the rewards. It's coming at you right now. Here it comes. Here it comes. Come on. Who is the winners? Who are the winners? Okay, Sleeping Stars. Sleeping Stars, 158. Well done, little lady. Jayla, 17. Willie Fix-It makes the board. Amethyst Cat and Zazanimal. Zazanimal. I'm so glad to see you're up on the board. Very cool. Very, very cool. Well, all right, you guys, I am going to let you rumble. I'm going to let you rumble. I have very much enjoyed this show. Val Kimber, are you broadcasting tonight? Is he hanging out? Did I just see him a few minutes ago? Our dear brother Val Kimber has a wonderful music program over on D Live. He plays great, great stuff. I think Saturday night is his big. I think Tuesday night and Saturday night are his big nights. But I was just looking to see if he was doing his thing tonight. I love all of you guys. Thank you so much for hanging out here on the Mystery Ship. My dear friends, I hope that you have a wonderful weekend. I hope you will join me tomorrow on the Mystery Ship. It's going to be a wonderful time at Pilled Foxhole and at D Live. Come and join the fun where your brother Zoe plays the best classic rock ever laid to vinyl. I look forward to seeing you there. We will catch up with each and every one of you around the corner, my friends. Be good. Be good. Don't forget to pray for our friends who are in need. The ones in need. Have a great, great weekend. And know that I freaking love you. Take care, my friend.